Welcome back to the Shoot for the Moon Backlink Challenge video series. I'm Matt LeClaire. Now that you have your outline ready to rock, let's create the rough draft of the content you need to create. This content is going to need to grab the attention of your golden prospect. It's also something that's going to need to grab the attention of your site visitors when they hit your page. Otherwise, the content won't earn backlinks for your business. Since that would suck, we're going to go over some things that you can do so that doesn't happen. If you're new to this series, I recommend you click the link below to start at the very beginning. You'll get more from your efforts if you do. It's also important to complete the homework section in each chapter if you're participating in the challenge. And what's a challenge? That's to earn a backlink from the biggest authority in your industry. So if you're participating in the challenge, I recommend you go back to the beginning and do the homework I give you at the end of each video. You get more from this if you do. All right. Finding your hook. Getting your readers to consume your content starts with first grabbing their attention. The way to do that is to find what writers call a good hook. This hook needs to transform your content into something that snags the attention of your golden prospect and your site visitors the moment they come in contact with it. If it doesn't, your content is going to be invisible to them and, well, worthless to your business. Instead of coming across as a juicy steak, if you don't have the right hook in your content, it's going to come across as what Ryan Dice calls boiled chicken. Do you like eating bland, soggy poultry? Well, neither do your prospects, and your golden prospect certainly doesn't either. That's why what you cook up in the kitchen, as far as your content goes, needs to have some seasoning to it, needs to have some pizzazz to it, needs to have some oomph. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about, how to get that oomph in this particular video. To be blunt, brainstorming hooks for the content I create isn't my sharpest skill set. It's something that I have to spend a lot of effort on, but it's something I'm working very hard on. And the harder I work on it, the better I get at it. Now that means there's not a lot I can do to help you come up with a hook for the content you need to create. But don't let that stop you from seeking advice elsewhere on the topic. The internet is full of great information. I would check Writer's Digest and other writing digests and writers clubs for hooks. This is something that writers have been dealing with forever, so there's a lot of great information out there. Why creating a challenge like this one you're watching now in my video series might make sense for you. There's several good reasons why I decided to create my content in the form of this challenge, the Shoot for the Moon challenge. That was my hook. Now, these reasons might be enough to entice you to create a challenge of your own if you're having a hard time coming up with a suitable hook. If so, I think that's an awesome idea. Creating your own challenge series. To make a challenge work for you, you need to challenge your reader to do two things. And these two things are very important. Number one is to challenge them to accomplish a goal that is in alignment with one or more of the core values that you discovered your golden prospect holds. So accomplish a goal that is in alignment with one or more of the core values that your golden prospect holds. And number two, challenge your reader or viewer or listener to consume as much of your golden prospect's relevant content as possible that will aid them in accomplishing that goal. That's a well-baited hook. It's a hook I'm using in my own challenge, in my own attempt to earn a backlink from my golden prospect, Eric Ward. Is it going to work? I have no idea. I have no idea at all. I know the hook I'm using is solid. I'll give you an example on how my content meets those two criteria. Number one, what's the goal of the challenge? Well, that's to earn a backlink from the biggest authority in your industry. That's a pretty big goal. One of Eric Ward's core values is to be very selective about who you ask to link to your website. And I think going after the biggest authority in your industry for a backlink is being selective. So what I challenge you to do is in direct alignment of one of Eric Ward's core values. So that's what you need to come up with in the content you create, is challenge your reader to do something that is in alignment with the core value that your golden prospect holds. And 2, mix in your golden prospect's content all through the challenge. That's called curation. If you ask your reader or listeners or viewers to consume content of your golden prospects, anything that's relevant, that's going to help them accomplish the goal that you set for them and that you want them to accomplish, you add that in, you sprinkle that in throughout your own content, and that becomes a hook that you could use to hopefully earn a link from your golden prospect, because you're directing people to their content and challenging them to accomplish something that they believe heavily in. Yeah, that just seems like a well-baited hook. All right, maybe you're a little nervous about challenging your site visitors to do anything. Challenging your readers to complete important tasks that will help their businesses or their families or any other part of their life is what leaders do. So don't hold back. Don't be afraid to challenge your site visitors and your readers and whoever's consuming your content. Don't hold back from challenging them to accomplish something that will be of great benefit to them. All right, it's time to create the content. We're at the stage of a link campaign where many people start to freak out and some even hyperventilate at the thought of having to create new content. But if you did your homework, the following tips that I share with you will help you blast right through the process. So don't sweat it. You got this. Let's talk about recording the rough draft. Notice I didn't say writing the rough draft. If you're not comfortable with your writing skills yet, I recommend you sit down with all your notes in front of you, the outline you fleshed out, and record the first draft as an audio using the microphone on your computer or your smartphone. Don't worry about the quality of the audio either. The only people who will hear it will be a transcriptionist that you hire to transcribe it and yourself. What you do is just turn the recorder on and start talking through the entire outline you put together in the previous lesson. Mention your golden prospects content whenever relevant and blab away until you can't think of anything else to say on the topic. Then blab even longer. Don't hold anything back at this stage. What you want to do is generate as much content as you can. Let's get in some brainstorming exercises that you could do to really flesh out what you're doing on the recording that you're doing for your rough draft. Start your recording off by telling your prospects what they're going to accomplish by participating in your challenge. It may seem like obvious advice, I know, but if you skip it, your prospects may skip over your entire challenge, regardless of how awesome you made it. State what you want the visitor to do after they read, watch, or listen to the content you're creating for them. Then drill down on the specifics by answering each of the following questions. Why should your reader want to accomplish that goal in the first place? What's in it for them? What are the steps that they have to take to accomplish that goal? What resources will they need to be able to accomplish that goal as well? What are the major hurdles holding them back from starting? What are some of the setbacks they can expect if they do start? Don't try to edit your answers. Just answer each question with as detailed answers as you can. There's going to be plenty of time to edit the audio later. Now you want to get what's in your head onto the recording, and you want to do some brainstorming to get some additional ideas that not in your head yet that will come to mind if you go through these exercises. And some of your answers that you do on these exercises might seem a little silly, but don't let that stop you. You're making progress. All right, what else can you do on your recording? Well, you should introduce your golden prospect. Covering the following points is going to flesh out your content nicely as far as how your golden prospect fits into it. Share things like what the name of your golden prospect is. Read their bio if they have a bio, and I'm sure they have a bio. Share how their content has helped you in the past, if it's true, and if so, how it helped you. Share what you want your visitors to learn from your golden prospect, which of their content that you're going to be referring to in the challenge. Even describe how you feel about those pieces of content that you're going to share. And describe how implementing what your golden prospect teaches in that content you're sharing with them, how it's going to affect their life and what they're going to get from it. Those are just some of the ways that you can introduce your golden prospect into the recording. And this is all going on in the same recording. This is just one massive brainstorm session that you're going to transcribe when you're done. And it's going to be some text that you're going to be able to work with to pound into shape to become the content you need in order to earn the backlink from the biggest authority in your industry. Another thing you can touch base on in your audio rough draft is to talk about your experience. You're going to play a huge role in this. So we need to get your spin on it, because if you don't, it's going to be hard for your readers and viewers and listeners to be able to bond with you. And getting them to bond with you is very important. You don't want to brag when talking about yourself. Bragging is never attractive. But don't be shy about your accomplishments either. That's pretty unattractive too. Okay, here are some of the questions to help you get started introducing yourself to the content. Share what your name is. Share where you live. Share whether or not you're single, married, or divorced, if you feel comfortable sharing that information. And let me say, the more information you can share about yourself, the better, because it's going to make it easier for your prospects to be able to bond with you when they consume your content. Obviously, you don't want to give out information that could potentially harm you and give people information about yourself that will expose you to potential harm. You want to paint a picture of who you are, though, and still be safe at the same time. Maybe share how many children you have and how many grandchildren you have. You don't have to give their names, but you can tell how many grandchildren you have, or whether or not they're still living at home with you. What do you do for a living? You could share that. You don't have to share where you work. You can just tell what you do for a living. And you can also share what you know about the topic of the content that you're covering in the challenge you're creating. You can talk about some of your major accomplishments in life. Talk about some of the most embarrassing moments of your life. Whatever you need to do to flesh out who you are as a person and what you bring to the table as far as the subject matter of this content you're creating. Share why you want to help the visitor. A lot of people are going to wonder what's in it for you. Share what's in it for you. Why are you helping out the visitor? Why do you want the visitor to accomplish the goal that you set for them? Those are just some of the things you can cover about yourself. Obviously, the more you can cover about yourself, the better. I want to say the end product isn't going to be about yourself. It's going to be about solving the problem that your prospect is looking for a solution to, but you're going to play a big role in it. All right, so share as much about yourself as possible and what your relevant information is. Those are just a few suggestions on what you should cover in your initial recording and your initial rough draft recording. Just be as thorough as possible with your answers. There's a time for quality and there's a time for quantity. Now is the time for quantity. Not everything you record will make your final content piece, but you will catch enough nuggets to put some serious meat on the bones of your draft, and that's all we're doing right now. Now, when you're done this initial rough draft recording, what you do is edit out the junk, and you'll know which is junk and which isn't. And then once you edit it, you can hire someone to transcribe your edited audio. I'm not going to get into how to edit audio. I would look up Audacity or Reaper. Those are a couple good programs that you can edit audio with. Audacity's free. Reaper, I think, is a 90-day free trial. So either one of those programs work great. But edit out the junk from your audio. And once you have, hire a transcriptionist to transcribe your edited audio. The cost is going to be very minimal, and the transcription you get back is going to serve as the first written draft of your content. That's huge. One of the biggest problems people have with creating content is starting from nothing to something. Well, after you get your transcription back, you're going to have something. Now, how are you going to know what to cut and what to keep? Well, if you've been doing your homework at the end of each video, you've been reading a lot of great content lately. This will help you recognize what's worth keeping in your audio and what you should cut. Since transcription services charge you by the minute, cut out any of the audio you don't want to fork out money to have transcribed. That should work as a sufficient filter you can rely on as well. We all like to protect our pocketbooks. So take out anything you don't want to pay money for to have transcribed. Now, once you get the transcription back, You're going to need to roll up your sleeves and add some serious muscle to it. Now, what follows are some great exercises that you can use to help make the process a little easier for you. One of the hallmarks of great content is that it teaches its readers, viewers, or listeners how to accomplish something concrete that will be of interest or benefit to the reader in some tangible way, even. At this stage, your rough drafts is most likely short on specifics. But all rough drafts are, so don't sweat it. Besides, I learned a secret from Sujan Patel that will help you put some meat on its bones. What's Sujan's secret? Question everything. Here's how Sujan describes exercise in his words. Start with an idea, the title of a recent blog post will work, and question everything around that topic. You can perform this exercise on your own or in a group. Let's try this out with a recent blog post of mine. How to turn web traffic into app users. What is web traffic? Why should I care about turning web traffic into app users? What makes someone download an app? What stops someone from downloading an app they're interested in? Do people prefer browsing websites or using apps? Don't be afraid to wander off topic. Just go wherever your mind takes you. If ideas pop into your head that aren't questions, that's okay. Don't worry about the form your thoughts are taking. Just write them down. I'm not saying these are necessarily good ideas. They're just thoughts at the moment, which is generally all they will be at this stage. I'm simply trying to demonstrate how this process works. I recommend you go check out Sujan's other brainstorming tips at 10 brainstorming exercises to generate 100 new blog post ideas. In a nutshell, what you need to do is play the role of a reporter and start asking questions about the content you're about to create. When you finish the exercise, you might have as many as 200 questions written down. Recognize which of the questions aren't relevant and cut them. Keep the rest. I'll tell you what to do with those questions in a little bit. Making your content better than your competitors. One of the reasons I challenged you to earn a link from the biggest authority in your industry is because it would force you to create the very best content possible to make that happen. Mediocre content leads to poor links and average revenue results. How do you know if the content you're creating for this challenge is first-class content? Easy. You check your competition's content out, then you make adjustment to yours until it's better than theirs. It's not all that hard to do either. All right, first thing you do is visit buzzsumo.com. They're a great service. All right, when you're there, type in the keyword phrase that best describes the topic of your content. Now sort the content that comes up by shares. Open the top 25 posts on separate tabs. Now pour over each piece of content and write down anything covered in them that you don't have covered in your rough draft. I'm not saying copy them word for word. They'll give you ideas on things you need to cover. Once you've done that, write down any topics that they did not cover that you could cover in yours that would make your content better than theirs. So what didn't they cover that you could cover? Now cross off anything from the list that doesn't fit well with what you want your visitor to do after they consume your content. Sit down in front of your recorder again and talk through each of the elements you just uncovered in the previous exercises. Go through all the questions and answer them, and if you have a lot of questions written down, this is going to take you a while. And talk through all the points you discovered about your competition's content. Once you've done that, edit the audio just like before, then send it to your transcriptionist again. Once you get the new transcription back, merge it with the first transcript in a logical order. It's something that makes sense and leads your reader from the beginning of the challenge all the way, flows all the way to them accomplishing the goal that you want them to accomplish. Take your time with this. It's going to take a while. It'll be like putting a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle together, or maybe a 200-piece jigsaw puzzle together, depending on the topic that you're covering in your content. After you get everything in order, it's time to get the recorder out again. Recording the final audio draft. Yep, you get to do it again. Get the recorder out. Talk through your outline again. Only this time you have a lot more material to go through. This stage may seem redundant at first. I know it does. After all, you've already recorded 2 drafts already. Why should you waste your time recording another draft? Well, more content and ideas are going to pop into your head as you talk through the material this final time. Your job right now is to capture them all. Don't hold any thoughts back. Just capture everything that comes to your mind. Your role here is to create, not filter. Whatever comes to your mind, speak it out. Like before, edit the audio and get it transcribed. Consider that transcription the finalized outline for your content and paste it into your word processor. From this point forward, it's going to be easy for you to polish up that content and finish the project. Finalizing your content. Should you hire a writer to complete the content for you? Now, one of the biggest problems with hiring freelance writers to create your content is the fact they only spend a couple minutes at the most researching your topic. But by completing the research for them and by fleshing out a working outline, hiring an outside writer gets a lot more practical. If you're not into writing, this is your chance to hit the easy button. Whether you create the content yourself or hire it out, following these tips I just shared with you will move you a long ways towards completing your finalized content that you need. Once you get your drafts completed, it's time to ask your golden prospect to link to you. We'll cover that in the very next lesson. Plus, I'll share a couple of different ways you can earn a link from your golden prospect if you don't feel like creating content right now. So I guess there is an easy button involved with getting a link from your golden prospect. Okay, your homework. Number 1, find your hook. What hook are you going to use with your content? Well, you got to figure that out. Maybe you want to use a challenge like I used. Maybe not. That's up to you. Number 2, create your rough draft. You create your rough draft by following the instructions I shared with you at the beginning of this video. After that, you flesh out your draft. Once you flesh out your draft, you create your finalized content. And after you've done all that, proceed to the next chapter of the challenge, where I'll show you how to contact your golden prospect, different ways you can contact them to earn a link from them. Plus, a couple of ways you can earn a link if you don't feel like creating content. See you then. Bye now.